Alright guys, we're back here for the probe test. So I was nice enough to ask my boss, and he was able to let me borrow his camera. It's a little tiny probe camera. There's the end. Got lights in it and everything. However, I'm trying to go down in there and see. You can see that silver piece in there. That's the top of a thermostat housing, or the top of the thermostat itself. And amongst that green, I tried to get as much water out as I could. So what we're trying to do is determine if someone took that out a long time ago and just took the guts right out so that it's free flowing. It offers some resistance, but it doesn't allow the temperature, it won't allow it to ever overheat if it's empty. So I don't know if this probe is waterproof, but we're going to find out. And I'm hoping that this probe here is kind of waterproof. If not, I am going to do my best to dry it out after we're done and hopefully save it if it's not waterproof. And I just don't know if it is. But I'm also going to try, and I don't know if you can see that, but there's the camera, there's the shaker, and we're going to go down into the tube. So there's the thermostat. You know, you can never ever control these things. So there we are inside the thermostat. Okay. So what we're trying to do is get into that little hoop there. So that hoop is the top of the thermostat. And there's just too much green there. So it makes it hard to really see. Down in there. From what I can see, I don't know if you can see any of that. Yeah, I don't know if this is waterproof or not. But I really can't. Okay, there's the thermostat. This moves around way too easy. Okay, we're in the water. Now there should be springs and stuff in here. Should be able to see something down in there. But there's literally nothing. So there's the top. There's the top of the thermostat right there. And I'll go inside. But all I see is green and a freeze. I don't see any kind of springs or anything. So I do believe someone just hollowed this out. So the other thing you can do is if you got a coat hanger, you can just shove it down in there and see how far you go. Obviously, if you can go far, you ain't got nothing in there. So if I'm gonna go grab me a coat hanger, I'll be back in a second for you guys, and we'll try to shove the coat hanger down there and see how far it goes. Alright guys, just a second for you guys, but here is a coat hanger. So we are going to take it down. The thermostat hole. And I'm going to try and get y'all a better angle at this if I can. So as you can see, that metal ring, that metal top piece there, what you do is put the coat hanger end down in there. Okay, maybe not. Okay, we're through the hoop. Now, if there was something in there, it would stop and it wouldn't go any further. As you can see, it went down quite a bit. Just make sure that we're in that hoop. It should stop. It shouldn't go down in there any more than that. And we're already to the, there we go. I mean, it goes down in there. So that proves that the thermostat has been tampered with, AKA pulled out and the guts have been removed. So we got, yeah, we got what I thought we had. And since there's a thermostat in there, I didn't think there was. But since there's a thermostat in there, that's what we got. And unfortunately, as you saw when I took this apart, I destroyed that clamp. So I got a nice new one here. So now that we know that the thermostat is open, it's been tampered with, now we're going to put it back together and fill it back up with antifreeze. Oh. And at least it can be driven again, you know, because it's been down for a few days. Because, you know, what you guys don't know is that what I'll do for content is I will sit here and I only do the work on the weekends because that's when I have time. And I'll just sit there and make some videos. And I'll just run videos. And I'll do 2 or 3 different things over a weekend. You know, I'll do a little work if the truck needs something or this needs something, because this has been a 2-month diagnosis process, because when she brought it to my attention that the car was running hot, not hot, but hotter than normal. So I said, okay, well, I'll look at it. So the first video you saw, I checked the antifreeze level and it was low, but I was also checking for flow to make sure that the water pump was doing its job. and the water pump was flowing. In fact, when the idle kicked up, it really flowed. So that just eliminates the problem of the thermostat being a problem. It's not low anymore because I filled it, and the water pump is pumping, but the gauge still. In the second video, you saw that the gauge, I told you, that it always stayed at the second hash mark. It's about a quarter of the way. And only pulling heavy mountain ranges, like going through West Virginia down to north of South Carolina, it's the only time it would ever go up to the middle. And there's a temperature gauge for the transmission that never moves until that happens. So, and as hot as it was saying it was getting, the temperature gauge wasn't moving on the tranny temp. So right now, I'm going to put this hose back together once I go get a driver for the clamp screw, and then I'll be back. But the next step in the next video, because I worked on it one day, and then a couple weeks later I came back to it and we test drove it, and I watched the temperature gauge do what it was doing. And then you saw the third video, I tried to get the thermostat housing bolts off and they weren't budging. So I gave up on that. And then I thought about it, so the next time I came out here, we popped the radiator hose last time. And this time I was just confirming my suspicions that the thermostat didn't have anything inside. So there's nothing to open and close. It's all open. So there's no reason for it to get hotter than it has been getting. So the next step in the next video, we're going to have to get her out on the highway, and I'm going to borrow my boss's digital thermometer. I'm going to get it up to where the temperature says it's not supposed to normally run at, and I'm going to stop the car right there, and we'll check the temperature of the hose here, the thermostat housing, the radiator. I'll check various places around the system and see if it registers the same temperature as the gauge. Because if it's cooler than what the gauge is reading, then obviously there's an issue with the gauge or the sender. And if that's the case, then we'll have to deal with that, either the sender unit, because you can't replace the gauge because it's tied in with the oil pressure. So give me a minute to get a driver for this hose clamp. Okay guys, got my socket here, so we're going to try to get you guys hooked up for that housing. There's the housing. That's not going to work though, is it? But what we got going on here is we're going to slide this new clamp on. Push our hose back over the tube. That way you can see the hose clamp. Even though the end one where I didn't want it to go. All right. quite enough of that from down there. No, I said that was enough of goofing around. We're not trying to have a 20-minute video on how to put on a radiator hose clamp. So you need to stop whatever you're trying to do. Okay, the clamp turned completely around on me, which is not supposed to do that because I need it up here. I need the top part so I can screw it on. It's just not cooperating. And neither is the camera slash cell phone, because I'm not using an expensive camera or anything. I'm just using my cell phone of all things. So here we have the clamp. Once you get the clamp going, should be good. There's a lip right here on the housing to keep the clamp from sliding off. So once you get it started tightening, it's pretty easy after that. You don't need to go Dwayne level foot-pounds on this. It is just a hose clamp. But if you know me, I want to get every little turn out of it. Alright, that's good enough. Get that light out of there, turn it off, because I charged it again, which is very rare. So now, the hose is back together so the car can be driven. And honestly, we really didn't lose a whole lot of antifreeze. So there you go. We have confirmed a few different things of what cannot be happening to make this thing overheat. So we're going to call it a day for this video. And y'all want to subscribe to the channel, go ahead. You know, if you don't, that's fine too. But hope this video was informational for anybody who's having any kind of overheating problem, at least on a Trans Am. But most things will function like that. You know, either you got a locked up thermostat, or your water pump's bad, or you're low and you're leaking somewhere. And first I got to find out if it's actually overheating, and then I'm going to try and see if it's leaking anywhere. Because on the last video, or no, on the video for the, when I tried to take them bolts out, I did find a little bit of green down there behind the alternator that might be coming from maybe the intake or the back of the timing cover thing where the water pump sits. So first and foremost, I want to double check and make sure it's actually running hotter than it usually does. If not, then it's just the sensor or the actual gauge in the dash, which I don't know what I'm going to do about that. So y'all have a good day. We'll see you next time.